Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see everyone's faces. So I prepared a pretty short talk today, just inspired by some of the things that kind of came out of Sensei's talk last week and the sharing portion. Um, and so I'm hoping that this might stimulate some conversation about practice in life. Uh, I personally, right now, am coming to the end of some really big projects and kind of going into the new. And so I noticed this sort of a level of sort of activity in my life and distraction. And so I want to share a little bit about what has been kind of bringing me um, back to the moment. So basically, there's this saying that I've been with lately, which many of you might know, which is poco a poco, or little by little. Um, it's been a mantra that I've been using to remind and motivate me to connect with awareness, compassion, and wisdom during daily activities, reminding me of this capacity that we all have to connect deeply with our basic goodness, to return to what is, whether it is a koan, the breath, washing the dishes, listening to a friend, or experiencing the warmth of the sun on my face on a cold day. The saying reminds me of our potential for waking up and for turning towards this life. So, as I mentioned, I'm coming off this several weeks of busy work, as well as taking in what feels like seismic and looming changes in our country and our world. And while life is constantly shifting, there's times where this impermanence can feel undeniable. We see it, we know it. So maybe you have been directly affected by major shifts or know people who are experiencing a certain level of upheaval in their lives. People who have lost jobs, family members who might be sick or dying, or maybe just feeling like there is more to do in any given day, that there's always so much going on, and at times, depending on circumstances, it can feel like this life is accelerating. And I was sitting with this sense of acceleration because that's what I was experiencing. And it occurred to me that part of my own experience of this acceleration was deeply entwined with my subtle need for control and of this grasping and aversion of of wanting to keep what was feeling good and comfortable and pushing away the rest. Um, I can feel this in my body, in the form of tightening, agitation, gripping, etc. Just you name it, just these different sensations. However, I need to surrender enough to feel the agitation, the tightening, the gripping for what it is, to even notice it. So this poco a poco reminds me to pause, to gather this attention, to connect with awareness and the vow to not turn away from life and just to keep going. Little by little, moment by moment, breath by breath. So last week during Sensei's talk, the subject of goals came up. And I think Matt shared a story about hiking and that he loves to hike, but if he was always looking at the summit rather than the path, he may not even want to attempt the hike at all. So this really resonated with me, and how we can develop expectations about life or practice and then substitute these ideas and images of what we fear or desire or how we should be, when really all we have is this moment, this step, whether we're simply drinking a cup of coffee or driving to work or walking a switchback. I know that Shishin Roshi likes to share that in his very early practice days, that after he read the Three Pillars of Zen, that he decided on page, whatever, 83 or what have you, that he's like, that's the awakening experience I want, that was detailed in the book. Um, and it's not to say that we shouldn't have goals or even a desire to wake up, you know? Um, but really, any goal or waking up is still an idea. And when achieved, may not look like the image or idea we started with. Yeah. So, I remember early in my Zen practice when I heard the reference to practice as though a fire were on top of our heads. I felt like, oh, this meant I wasn't really practicing unless I felt desperate. And quite frankly, in some distorted way, I also had this idea that I had to be particularly hard on myself as well. Was I still practicing if I actually experienced my life as it is, which at times had no desperation at all? Sometimes maybe joy, maybe sometimes sorrow, maybe sometimes I was feeling numb. Back then, I thought I had to get somewhere to put out this fire. But if I waited until some destination or place, which I have no idea what I thought this destination or place was, the fire would have consumed my whole body. And as I was desperately trying to get to this place, I was probably spreading this fire, you know? So, yeah, desperately fleeing, seeking this something. So I'm just really feeling in my heart and in my body that I want to attend to this fire right now, right here, poco a poco, step by step, breath by breath. So I've been reading this book by Octavia Raheem. It's called Rest is Sacred, Reclaiming Our Brilliance Through the Practice of Stillness. So she's this yogini and she does a lot of yoga nidra practice. And so one of the pages really hit me and I would like to share it with you all. She writes, "The more rested you become, the more of a safe person and place you become. You become a living, breathing refuge as you rest, become more grounded and regulated. The more you soften your gaze, the safer you become to yourself. The safer you are to you, the safer you are to others." And I share this because in some ways, for me right now, this is summarizing practice in softening this gaze. What is this rest, this surrender to what is, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, becoming safe and familiar with my life as it is, and being open and safe for others to be exactly who and what they are. So I really feel this resting is a surrender to life and to the grasping and aversion that arises. becoming familiar and getting to know our bodies and minds, poco a poco, little by little. I surrender to what is, becoming okay when not okay, opening this heart to my life and everyone and everything in it. Poco a poco, I turn to this life as it is. Thank you.